Today's video will be about the AEW Continental Classic, which is a tournament that's going on at the minute. This will be about how it works, what the prizes are, who are the competitors, and then a breakdown of why it's exciting. So we are currently in week 3, going into week 4, and things matter now. But what is it? I had fun making this presentation. There are 2 leagues with 12 competitors total, and it is a round robin tournament. It's important to note, round robin tournament, this is not an eliminator. Everyone competes, they keep saying everyone competes against everyone, which is confusing given that there are 12 competitors, but not all of them compete against each other. But we will get into that in a second. So, round robin, everyone wrestles everyone, and it's a league table and a points system. We will go into the rules in a second. But first, the prize, because there has to be a prize. There's always a prize. There is 2 belts that were already prizes that have been combined. This is what they like to refer to as a Triple Crown Championship, which basically means it's 3 belts combined into 1. 2 of these belts already existed and 1 is new. The AEW Continental Champion is the new belt that they've made specifically for the tournament. And then we have the Ring of Honor World Champion. Ring of Honor is another wrestling promotion like AEW, and it's owned by the same guy who owns AEW. And then we have the New Japan Strong Openweight Champion. New Japan Strong is like the American side of New Japan Pro Wrestling. These 2 belts were, or are currently, technically, still around the waist of Eddie Kingston, who put them up for this tournament to make this Triple Crown. And what that means is basically you can take this belt and defend it at other promotions against people who wouldn't necessarily get to challenge it, people who aren't part of the AEW roster. So people who only wrestle in New Japan could compete for it and then come to AEW and defend it against talent. So it's like a way to help people be able to go to multiple promotions and fight. A lot of people think that there's not much point to it because we see a lot of Ring of Honor in AEW anyway, because they're owned by the same people, and Ring of Honor's kind of seen as like training people up and getting their skills up, and then they come to AEW. And New Japan, they kind of have a deal where some New Japan talent do come to AEW, but I personally don't understand why people are mad at it, because I think that it's a cool idea to get, if people are interested in someone from AEW and they have the belt, that would be cool to get eyes on New Japan if they went and defended it. And it just seems like a good way to help get more people paying for Ring of Honor and New Japan and get more eyes on that. So yeah, that's that. What are the rules of the matches? So there is a 20-minute time limit on every match. No one is allowed at ringside. A lot of people have groups and factions. I'll mention later that there are people part of Black Hole Combat Club or House of Black or Bullet Club Gold or LFI. So they're like, tend to have people around them normally, but everyone's banned from ringside, so you can't have anyone to help or interfere. You get 3 points if you win, by pin, submission, count out, which is basically if you're in the ring and your opponent is outside of the ring, there is a 10 count. If your opponent doesn't get in the ring within that 10 count, then you win. And then 1 point for a draw. So if you went the full time limit and nobody got pinned, nobody tapped out or anything like that, you would get 1 point each. And there are 2 leagues. We have the Gold League, 6 competitors in the Gold League. We will get into who all of those people are in a second, which means that there are 30 matches because each of the 6 competitors wrestles the other 5 competitors that are in that league for a total of 30 matches. And then it's the same for the Blue League. Again, 6 competitors, 30 matches. Once the tables have been calculated for this, then there will be the top 2 competitors. Whoever's got the 2 highest points in their league will wrestle off against each other to see who wins, and then the person from the Gold League who wins that match and then the person from the Blue League who wins that match will then face off against each other at World's End pay-per-view, and the winner of which will get the belt. We are onto the Gold League competitors. I like that fact. Don't know why it exists, but it's fun. So, first we have Jon Moxley, who is the British looking man that I talk about a lot. He loves to bleed. He loves it. He loves it so much. He is the first member of the Blackpool Combat Club that we will see. There are 3 of them competing, which kind of seems unfair, but I'm happy because I like them. So it's fine. It's fine if you like them, then it's fine. He also has a very cute family. I don't know if the Christmas tree is blocking that, but that's his family. That is Renee Paquette. She is a backstage interviewer and host, and she is very good at her job. And that is their daughter Nora. And then he is one of the favourites to win because he's Jon Moxley. He used to be called Dean Ambrose when he was in WWE, where I think he was champion at one point. He has been AEW champion a couple of times. I think I've not watched any of his reigns because I started watching late. And then we have Swerve Strickland, who is also one of the favourites. He was not one of the favourites until very recently because he was the one in that bloody match that I was talking about. He's not afraid of staple gun. You can staple him, he will staple himself. He's not ashamed to bleed either. Yeah, he's the sexiest bad guy in AEW by a long shot. He's hot. He also has an assistant that comes out and dances with him. Not with him. Dances behind him or next to him. It's fun. He's very serious. His assistant is not. And he's currently feuding with that guy in the Dolly Parton shirt. He was the one who was staple gunning him. And then we have Roosh, who loves to be violent. He is a member of LFI. I'm not going to be able to pronounce what that stands for right, but we will try. It's La Faction Ingobernable or something like that. He does stuff like this that I love so much, where he will just run and then fake out and then just kick someone in the face and then do a pause in the middle of the ring, and it's very fun. He's finally getting a decent push. He disappeared from TV for a while, and I don't know why, because I haven't been watching that long, but he came back. They were teasing it for a while, and then the teasers stopped and he didn't come back. And then like a month prior to this tournament, he suddenly started getting quite a few matches, and they're all great because he's great and he's very charismatic, and he cuts a lot of promos in Spanish, and it's really fun. Not fun, fun's the wrong word. It's effective. He's very good. And it's good to see him represented in this tournament because it seemed like AEW didn't really know what to do with him, and now he gets to shine. And then we have Mark Briscoe, who has not been on TV that much recently. He's missing his front 2 teeth. He does ragneck kung fu, as they call it. He's very entertaining, and they should just let him cut promos all the time. Just stick a camera in front of him, do a microphone, give him a microphone, whatever. He's great. and he fights. He loves to fight. He's not going to give up. He's not going to tap out. He's not going to half-ass it. He's also not going to win this tournament, but we will get to that. He was one half of a tag team with his brother called Them Boys, but his brother unfortunately passed away last year in a car accident. And there's a lot of nice tributes, and everyone loved Mac, and everyone loved his brother. Well, yeah. And then second to last, it's not the last, it's not even the last Jay. We have Jay Lethal, who is this guy, and he seems to be in this tournament in an attempt to be taken more seriously. He was the Ring of Honor World Champion at one point. I think he may even have been like the longest running, or he's had it the most. I can't remember which. There's some sort of record with him and his championship, but he's kind of just part of this group now, and it's a lot of comedy, and he's not really been doing much by the way of like impressive wrestling, so he's now in this tournament kind of to go it alone. And he recently did cut a very good promo after losing against who did he lose against? Jay White. He cut a promo against him where he was basically just kind of like almost not quite crying in a corridor, but it was very good, it was very moving, and it proved just how much the tournament actually means to him, and especially with him being an ex-Ring of Honor champion, that he would be wanting to get that belt back. Makes sense. And then we have Jay number 2. This is Jay White. He is a cute little rat boy from New Zealand. He looks like this. He gets spit in his beard a lot, which is kind of gross. He has an insane looking body. Look at him. He is the leader of Bullet Club Gold, which is him, Juice Robinson, who is crazy. Like he's more like a pet dog than a person, and then the Guns, who are also very fun comedy sort of characters, but Jay White is a lot more serious. Well, I wouldn't say he's more serious than them. He seems to be a bit more of a serious wrestler. He is a bit unhinged, like especially since he can't have his gang with him. He is going unhinged, and it's very fun to watch. And he's one of the most experienced in this kind of tournament because they hold the G1 in New Japan, which he has participated in maybe multiple times. I'm not sure how many times. Might have just been the one, but I'm sure they talk about him winning it. I don't know the specifics, but yeah, he's unhinged, and he has very good promos from after the tournaments that people seem to like, and I have actually just chucked in some of his promo because I
back to my winning ways. Back to my winning ways, the way that I know how to win, not the way that these people want me to win. No. I'm gonna win my way. Going back to what brought me to the dance with the horse to drink the water out of the well. But you can't force it because you can only teach it to fish for a lifetime to get the early worm. 3 points! Woo!
Unhinged little rat boy. And now we have the Blue League. Again, with the fancy graphics. Blue League competitors, 6 more to go. And then we will get into the points. So, we have Bryan Danielson, who is regarded as one of the best wrestlers in the world. He is a technical wrestler. I don't really know how to describe what that means. I think it just leans more heavily on injury, like focusing on parts of the body and injuring them rather than like the flips and shit. He's not a flippy guy. He is currently wrestling in an eye patch this eye patch because he broke his orbital bone in. They're claiming that he broke it in a tag match against Orange Cassidy and Okada. I don't know what his first name is. Sorry. To set up. He's wrestling Okada in New Japan at Wrestle Kingdom 18. I think it is, or 19. Anyway, in January, Okada also broke his arm during a wrestling match. So they sort of set it up like, oh, you broke my arm and my eye and I'm gonna break yours in retaliation. But in actual fact, it was broken during a match with Andrade El Idolo, who is also part of this Continental Classic. We will get to him. He is a member of the Blackpool Combat Club as well, and he is currently a very popular meme. This is used a lot in wrestling Twitter at the minute because it recently came out that he is part of the disciplinary committee at AEW that fired CM Punk after he punched Jungle Boy. Well, he wasn't Jungle Boy anymore. Punched Jack Perry backstage. And then it also came out that they are now fining wrestlers for social media conduct that's not befitting of the company or whatever. So every time a wrestler posts a tweet that's even a little bit dodgy, they're gonna see this gif underneath everything because people are loving it at the minute. And then we have Brody King, who is an absolute monster. He's a member of the House of Black, and they love a dramatic entrance. They love turn off all the lights in the stadium or arena or wherever they are. Everything goes to black, and then the lights come up and they're already in the ring. I don't know why he doesn't like people watching him walk to the stage. Maybe he's got a funny walk. I don't know. I don't actually know that much about Brody King and the House of Black. They kind of, when I started watching, they were the Trios champs, and then they lost it to the Acclaimed, and then they've not really been doing much since. He's kind of been operating in a tag team / trios for a long time. This is like the first time that he's getting a big push at singles, and he is absolutely running with it and wrecking house. It is very fun to watch. And then we have Andrade El Idolo, who is the one who broke Bryan Danielson's eye. He's a third generation wrestler. That mask, I believe, I don't know if it was his dad's or his granddad's. He's currently managed by CJ Perry, who she has a whole other thing. She's married to a wrestler called Miro, but Miro doesn't want her to be a manager because he said that she shouldn't come to AEW until he had earned a championship or something, because he didn't deserve her to be there or something like that. And now he's like up in arms that she's a manager and has been attacking her clients, but has promised that she will not attack Andrade. He's not pushed much in AEW. There was a thing about him hitting Sammy Guevara on purpose backstage to like try and get fired. He is married to, he used to be in WWE, and he is married to someone who is still in WWE, so I think there's like a thought that like he wants to go and work with where his wife works, but who knows. I also really love this coat. It's new and I really like it, and I can't find a decent picture of it, but I love it. That's all I really have to say. And yes, he was the one who actually broke Bryan's orbital bone in a match prior to the tag match, which some people were a little bit like, oh, so does that mean he wrestled that tag match whilst injured before getting surgery? Like, but if there's one thing you know about Bryan, he's a little bit of a sicko when it comes to wrestling injured. And they did a whole spot where Andrade, in the last match that they did, his last match was against Bryan Danielson, and he ripped off his eye patch and poked him in the eye, and Bryan started bleeding, and that was pre-taped, so they had to, like, it was pre-taped, and everyone was like, oh my god, Bryan's injured again, what's this going to do for the tournament? So much so that they had to come out and say, he's not really injured, guys, he's fine, he was just playing it up, because Bryan's a sicko. That's Andrade. And then we have Claudio. He loves a European uppercut because he is European. He is from Switzerland. He is also a member of the Blackpool Combat Club. He is the last of the 3 members of the Blackpool Combat Club to be in this. He's also the least, I don't want to say the least popular member of the 3, but like he's not as big of a name as the other 2. But outside of wrestling, he loves dad jokes and video games. He is, I believe, still a Twitch streamer, or he was a Twitch streamer. I watch him play Uno a lot with a couple of other wrestlers, and he's very funny. He hates Eddie Kingston, which is important to note because there's some belt shenanigans whereby he was the Ring of Honor World Champion and Eddie Kingston was the New Japan Strong Openweight Champion, and they had a match where both belts were on the line and basically the winner would get both, and Eddie Kingston won, which is why both of the belts were put up for this tournament by Eddie. But he's hated him long before that. I don't really know why. There's like, I don't know, like 20-year history between them or something, like goes back a long way. And he loves to swing people around. That's his like signature move, and it always looks amazing. And he did it with Brody King, which I couldn't find a gif of, but given how much of a beast Brody King is, that was very, very fun to watch. Yeah, I like him a lot. He's fun, and his wrestling persona does not match his like persona outside of wrestling, and I like that. And then we have Daniel Garcia, who is the major underdog of the competition, and in fact pretty much is guaranteed not to win. I mean, I think, yeah, he can't win now. He's lost all 3 of his matches so far, but they were kind of bigging him up prior kind of to this, in like he won a match and then he lost a bunch of matches and then they put him in this and he's continuing to lose, but it's like this narrative of him like getting over these losses and learning from them and like trying to make him a serious wrestler, because he has not really been a serious wrestler for a long time. There's like a big storyline of like, is he a professional wrestler or is he a sports entertainer? Because he loves to dance. So there's like a thing of, does he stop the dancing and become serious? Does he continue with the dancing and be an entertainer? He is a former member of the Jericho Appreciation Society, which is these guys. That in the middle is Chris Jericho, and then we have Daddy Magic, Cool Hand Ange, Jake Hager, Daniel Garcia. The group has been disbanded. They don't like Jericho anymore. And Daddy Magic is kind of like the father figure to Daniel Garcia, but he keeps trying to get him to stop dancing and be serious, but Daniel kind of wants to still dance, and it's a big conflict about who he listens to, and yeah, he's got a lot going on right now. He's in a transitionary period. And then finally, is it finally? I believe it is. We have, is it finally? Maybe. Then we have Eddie Kingston, who is the current Ring of Honor World Champion and New Japan Strong Openweight Champ. He is a very New York guy. He loves to fight. He's great at cutting promos in the sense that like he will just talk. Nothing ever feels scripted. Like he's just, I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. He lost his first 2 matches was a shock to a lot of people because he was, and I think it still is for some people, one of the favourites going into the tournament, especially given that he put 2 of his belts on the line in order to make this Triple Crown thing happen. So for him to lose his first 2 matches after doing that was quite a surprise. He loves hitting people in the chest. He's very good at it. He can do it really fast. Yeah, and he hates Claudio. Don't know enough about the history to know exactly why they hate each other so much. I have not watched the like 2-hour-long YouTube video that AEW put on their YouTube channel, but like, yeah, they hate each other. They did just face each other last week, and Eddie won, which means that Eddie's in the lead over victories. I don't know if it's three wins to Eddie, 1 to Claudio, or if it's 2 wins to Eddie and 1 to Claudio. I don't know. He's currently in the lead of wins with Claudio, but he's not in the lead in the competition. So what are the current standings? In the Continental Classic, I really like that transition. I don't know why. Just throw in a lens flare. Okay. So now this is going to be the interesting part where I waffle. So currently, Jon Moxley and Swerve Strickland have won all 3 of their matches, and they are going to face each other this week on Wednesday. Well, technically Thursday morning. That'll be when I'm watching it. The 2 face off. They're pretty much, apart from Jay White, they're pretty much kind of guaranteed to face off against each other again when it comes to the semi-finals, because Roosh would have to win both of his next matches, and one of them would have to lose both of their matches, which doesn't seem possible, which is a shame because I love Roosh. Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal, neither of them can win. They're both on 0 and there's only 2 matches left for either of them. But they've not faced each other yet, so I imagine that's going to become like a storyline of which one's going to overcome and get those points. My guess is Jay Lethal, just because he's selling it harder on the sad thing, whereas Mark is very much like, well, let's go, I'll get him next time. So neither these 2 cannot win. Jay White is gonna have to win probably 2 matches because he's currently at 6. If he wins 1 match, he'll be at 9, but these 2 are already at 9. And because they're facing each other next, one of them's either going to end up on 12 or they're both going to end up on 10, which means that Jay White will have to win or draw his other match. So we don't know what is going to go on with that. It's a shame for Jay White, really, because this is his kind of tournament, and also because he was recently in a title feud with MJF, which he lost, even though MJF was wrestling injured. He did actually get injured in the match, but like there was a pretend injury prior to the match, and he has a lot of interference in his matches because the Bullet Club Gold tend to come out and interfere, and that gives him the upper hand and makes him win. And a lot of that gets sold as like he's the leader of this group, but recently it's kind of made him seem weaker. So I kind of thought that this tournament was gonna make him look strong again, but then Swerve had that match with Hangman Adam Page, like in the beginning of, not the beginning of November, mid-November, and everyone went crazy for it, and I kind of feel like maybe the plans shifted because he was suddenly hot shit. Well, not suddenly hot shit, he was getting hotter and hotter by the day, like in terms of people's interest in what he was doing. So I have a feeling that maybe, sorry Jay White, just get pushed back a little bit. But also unhinged Jay White's fun. So when he loses, he's fun. It's fun to hear. And yeah. So for a lot of people, they think it's either going to be John or Swerve. And it probably is in this league, just based on the fact that they're ahead and one of them would have to lose both of their matches and Jay would have to win both, which is still technically possible because Jay's not faced John Moxley yet. So if Jay wins that, then Moxley loses and he will have had to have beat Swerve. Otherwise, there's a potential that Jay, if he beats Mark, could end up on top instead. But we will see. But yeah, Mark and Jay they've still got to wrestle even though they can't win. Which seems to be confusing to some people because they keep saying on commentary that they're eliminated, but they're not eliminated because it's not an eliminated tournament. They've still got to wrestle, they just can't win. Yeah, and Roosh can't win, basically, because even if he won his next 2 matches, he would be on 9, but one of them is guaranteed to at least be on 10 because they're wrestling each other. And someone's got to get points. Whether it's a draw and they both end up on 10, or one of them ends up on 12. Which is a shame for Roosh. But I'm hoping this leads to next year him becoming like a big thing. I want to say trios title with LFI, but I really love the Acclaimed, and I don't know how a feud between the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass will work with a violent faction like LFI. But that is the Gold League. And then we have the Blue League. So Danielson, there's a lot of people on 6. And my theory is, though I don't actually know if it would work, my theory is that they're going to try and get as many people on 6 points as possible. So my prediction is that Garcia and Eddie Kingston are going to wrestle next. And Eddie Kingston's going to win. And Garcia's like the only one in this that's like, he's not going to win realistically. Because Danielson and Brody King have not wrestled yet, and they're both on 6, so one of them's guaranteed to at least have 7 points. So Daniel Garcia can't get 7 points because he's only got 2 matches left. But my theory for him is, because Brody King has been such a beast throughout this thing, that his next match, Garcia's next match, will be against Kingston, which he'll lose to put Eddie on 6. But in his final match against Brody King, he will probably win. Just to put him over as like, he can do it and he's learned from all these losses, which seems to be the story that they're going for. But we will see. Because Brody King's only had 2 matches and he's won them both. Because there was a bit of a delay with this tournament, so some people haven't wrestled as much because Bryan Danielson wasn't cleared to wrestle in week 1, and then he wrestled twice last week. So there's a lot of theorising with this because it's fun to do in these kind of tournaments. The Gold League is less fun to theorise with just because two people are so far ahead. They are ahead. Whereas like with this, it's a lot more even, which is fun. Danielson is a lot of people's favourites, but a lot of people did not expect the level that we've been getting from Brody King, and it's been a while since he's got a single push, and that alongside the fact that there are 3 male members of the House of Black. So there's Brody King, Buddy Matthews and Malachi Black. They were trios title holders for I don't know how long, and then they lost to the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. So I'm wondering if they're maybe putting the other 2 members of the House of Black into the tag title scene, because they seem to be throwing a lot of people in the tag title mix recently. So I'm wondering if he's getting a singles push so that it can get a tag push, so to speak. Andrade is a weird one because he's very difficult to predict on who he will win against and who he won't, because he doesn't wrestle that much. But there's also, because of that thing of like, I believe his contract comes up for renewal soon and no one's 100% sure if he's going to be with AEW or move back to WWE. So there seems to be a reluctance to create stories with him and push him too hard. Like, as a wrestler, push means like make them a priority in like stories and stuff like that. But they seem to be holding off on him just because if he leaves, then you've dedicated all this time telling a story like with him when you could have like told it with someone else, so to speak. Which is why people who tend to be like, why people who tend to have like tons of time left in the contract tend to be part of like the big stories, because they're not going anywhere. It's a lot of theorizing with this stuff. Like, if Eddie Kingston is going to be like in the mix, he's gonna probably have to win. Yeah, he has to win both of his next matches. Like I said, he's probably going to win against Garcia this week, on Saturday. I think he's wrestling on Saturday, I don't know. My prediction is that's the match. They've not actually announced the match card as of recording this, but that's my guess. And then Andrade, it's impossible to predict, because Andrade's on 6 at the minute. He's not lost a match yet, but he's only had 2 matches. So it's whether Andrade is going to get a push over like someone like Claudio, and then that hinges on, is Claudio going to beat fellow member of the Blackpool Combat Club, Bryan Danielson, which I personally hope, because I do like Claudio more than Bryan, but I think that's an unpopular opinion. I think most people prefer Bryan, and most people are expecting him to win because, I mean, he was the guy who announced the tournament. But also, he said that he's retiring from full-time wrestling next year because he promised his daughter when she turned 7 that he would sort of stop and be home more. So it would be weird to put a belt on someone who is stopping soon, is my theory. And my theory is also that Eddie Kingston can't win this. Like, a lot of people, he's still a lot of people's favourites, but if you've put these 2 belts on the line and then all you do is end up just winning them back, seems anticlimactic. It seems like it would be a bigger shock if it's like you were so confident in yourself that you put these on the line and then you lost them both. Like, that, to me, is a better story. But people love Eddie, and giving him the belts means he gets more screen time. And he does love wrestling in New Japan, I think. I mean, a lot of them do, to be fair. But, I don't know. We will see. The only one out of this race is Garcia, who, like I said, is probably going to have one shock win against Brody. Which, my theory, I know I've just said that I think they're going to do like a Buddy Matthews, Malachi Black tag run. But my other theory, because Danielson has said before that he wanted Garcia to be part of the Blackpool Combat Club, but he ended up being with the Jericho Appreciation Society instead and being like more of a comedy gimmick than a serious wrestler, which for some reason has like really offended Danielson. My theory is that he's going to win against Brody King, and then the House of Black are going to attack him at some point, and then the Blackpool Combat Club is probably going to step in to protect him, and then Garcia will become part of the Blackpool Combat Club. But that is just a theory, because everything's just a theory in wrestling until it happens. Most of the times I predict stuff that does not happen, so we'll see. Yeah, so Brody's only had 2 matches, so it's a bit more difficult to predict given that there's 2 people that have only had 2 and the rest have had 3. I think Claudio's probably not gonna win. I think that it's likely that he might beat Andrade and lose to Danielson, and then it becomes Danielson, Brody King, and then Eddie is an outlier, as he comes back from that Garcia thing, and then I think this match might end up being Andrade versus Eddie Kingston, might end up being like the last match that goes, and it goes to like 19 minutes 58 seconds or something, and then he wins, and then that puts him in contention. But theory, it's all theory. I think Moxley is still the favourite out of everyone to win, but I don't know if that's just a popularity thing because he's been with the company longer than, I believe he's been with the company longer than anyone in the tournament. Could be wrong about that. I'm trying to remember who is in the Gold League. But yeah, like he's been in it basically from the start, and he's kind of been like the one who has always kept the company going when it's been going through difficult times with people getting injured and whatnot. So I think he's still the favourite, but I'd rather someone else won, to be honest. I don't think Jon Moxley needs a belt to make himself seem important. Whereas there are other people that might benefit from it. Or at least benefit from what it affords them of like going to New Japan and defending it and all that kind of stuff. And then they've said that they're going to do this tournament again next year, so maybe you'll get another video next year. We will see. That has been my presentation. There is no end slide, it's just, this is the end slide. So yeah, that is the Continental Classic, and my next presentation will probably be about the match card for World's End pay-per-view, but the match card is not fully out yet because they need to set everything up of like who's going to be in it, what stories are going on, and whatnot. Currently we only know about 1 match, which is going to be a good one, but yes. Ta-da!